I'm Brian Claassen. I'm the Director of IT for Salt Creek Midstream. I was brought into this role about mid-September of 2020, and it was after some guys that I used to work with at Noble Midstream came over and found some assets, and they were buying them from another company. And when I stepped into the role, I had never really done a carve-out before. In the oil and gas business, you constantly are doing mergers and acquisitions, and so I've been involved in acquiring companies, I've been involved in taking out pieces and selling off assets, but I've never been taking a company from another company and standing it up on its own. As we got into this project, it became apparent pretty quickly that myself was not going to cut it. And I was fortunate our CEO passed Trenegy's name along. I think he had some positive interaction in the past, but he didn't really give me anything to where there was no pressure. He's like, here's something to go look at, your decision. And so after talking and realizing we needed some help, it was really great to bring the team in. This project really was interesting from a lot of aspects because as we got going, I started mid-September. I think we brought the team in about mid-October, and we had a mid-January deadline for the end of the transition services agreement. And as we went through and started planning the project, I think every week or so I would get a request, can we accelerate? Can we accelerate? Can we bring it back a couple weeks? And so eventually we brought the project all the way back to really finished it up in mid-December, just before the holidays. So, and we did all of that on time, under budget, with very few hiccups. So I think really what worked well, we started off with, I think it was 2 or 3 resources, and expanded to 5. As we started to compress the schedule, we knew that the scope of work wasn't going to work with just 2 or 3 people. So I think the scale was great, bringing additional resources in. They jumped right in. I think what I was impressed most with from Trenegy is there wasn't oh gee, I'm not sure, or yeah, we've really never done that. Is like, okay, we'll figure it out. Okay, we'll take that. Okay, we've got that. And as we went through the project more and more, I was able to focus on working with my leadership team and working with the stakeholders I was going to end up supporting long term to start building relationships, and the team was taking care of the back end. They handled everything. We had a daily meeting, went through all the project tasks, and the things that weren't working well. I mean, the team like troop surgeons, I mean, they were on it. I think we're pretty simple in a lot of respects though, because most of what we had to move was cloud-based. So it was really moving virtual machines into a new Azure tenant and things like that. So we had a little bit of an advantage there. But there were some more complicated pieces. There were some on-premise solutions that we had, and then there was a whole GIS environment that was quite complicated because it was 2 different hosting providers. So nobody really had any real tribal knowledge of that to begin with. So it was consulting group working with consulting group working with people that were coming over from the carve-out with people who came in to the new entities. It was new. So, I mean, it was like a perfect storm of how many cooks can we have in this kitchen? And that one, they had asked us to be ready to go with our application footprint really before Thanksgiving. And while we didn't end up pulling the trigger before Thanksgiving, the team put in the work and we were ready to go. And we could have made that move within 2 days of saying go. So, I said, from that perspective, I feel like the level of tenacity, I don't know if it's not really a quantifiable term, but the team that was with us, I mean, really, kind of like a dog with a bone. I mean, once they got a hold of it, I mean, I didn't have to worry. Like I said, it freed me up to build the relationships that were going to be beneficial long term. It freed me up to understand kind of the bigger picture and then be able to work and make decisions with our leadership team and others about, what do we want this entity to look like from an IT footprint long term. There were several times we had to pivot from what we thought was the path forward or how we were going to execute certain parts of the transition. And again, everybody stepped in, all hands on deck. The attitude was, we got a project to do, let's get it done. And it really didn't matter who was doing what. I think the interesting thing on the ERP project was we thought so much of the work that was done in the carve-out that the first name that came to mind whenever we were like, we need to look for some business process consultants, somebody to help us understand what we're doing from the accounting perspective and then take that from our QuickBooks system and put it into Microsoft Business Central. And as we got to thinking about, what are the best candidates, we really only talked to Trenegy. I think we got a couple quotes from a couple other places that were suggested to us by the implementer that we had chosen. And actually, the implementer we chose came from Trenegy's recommendation. And we're still working with them very successfully today as well. So that project was a 4-month beginning to end cut over from QuickBooks into Business Central. And where I didn't get as involved in the accounting side of it. Where I got involved was more of understanding how the technology works. And then as we got into the end of the project, we started to look at, there's certain reporting packs that we needed. And that's where I kind of helped with business intelligence, using Microsoft Power BI. And Trenegy developed two really important dashboards for us. One's around our operating expenses, and one is around our capital expenses. And at the end of the day, I took over support of them from Trenegy, and I think I've made 3 changes, and every one of them has been a result of a change in Microsoft's back-end coding, table name changes, or really column changes, or, them deprecating different pieces of functionality. So what Trenegy delivered was very scalable, very flexible. It was really a well-done project as well. We hit our milestones with the implementer and with Trenegy. So I think that was just another example of, we had 2 really, really good projects. Kind of disappointed we haven't had a need to do another one.